Krishna. Hare Krishna. Just was thinking about how Prabhupada established this Hare Krishna movement all over across different cultures and dealing with different individuals, and how he brought in the unity among all the devotees. And so there are a couple of things I wanted to share from what he mentioned in terms of how we should work together in expanding this Krishna conscious movement under his direction. In a letter to Kirtanananda Swami dated 18th October 1973, Prabhupada says, material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna conscious movement, its success will depend on agreement, even though there are varieties of engagements. In the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference. The materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. They cannot come into agreement with varieties, but if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. This is called unity in diversity. I am therefore suggesting that all our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all GVC and senior men present. We should discuss how to make unity in diversity. But if we fight on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity in diversity. That will make our movement successful. So, in terms of as devotees, I mean, we all have our individuality and we all have our way of doing things, services, or serving the deities or serving the Vaishnavas and so forth. But I think one of the key messages that Prabhupada shares is how we should kind of, even though we may have disagreements in terms of doing different things, we should all come together in terms of finding by putting Krishna in the center and finding that unified aspect of it. And also that was his departing message also to his disciples before he left. He basically told them that along the same lines as Sri Ramanujacharya told his disciples, basically that when after my departure, how you collaborate and cooperate together is actually that's what is going to make me happier. That's what is going to make this movement go further. So just wanted to share that, and so as devotees, I think we should continuously keep that and because we are individual souls, I mean we have some individuality that we want to always portray, but at the same time I think we need if we work together, and that will please Srila Prabhupada more and our Guru Parampara more. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Augusta Silicata. Again, I must be very, very happy to see so many beautiful devotees here gathered in his honor. And I know that he's extremely happy to see the incredible Indian community here, because although his Guru Maharaj told him to go west and preach to the Westerners, he wanted very much for us to teach the Indian community and to bring them back to their beautiful culture. And so this was often he expressed this concern. And this temple has grown to be a shining star amongst the whole Indian community in America. This has been one of his most important works. He basically took a bunch of us, we white elephants that is, to India to attract the Indian people back to their culture. Because unfortunately, due to so many years of British rule and misguidance by the leaders, India was looking totally to the west at that time, so many years ago. And the culture was being lost, not really so much due to the fault of the Indian people, but due to the fact that the British were suppressing the culture, the original Indian culture, Vedic culture. In any case, he felt that if he would take Westerners to India, then the people will go, well, maybe there's something to our culture after all. And it worked. It worked very well. And it worked in America, too. At the time that I was a Srila Prabhupada, which was 1968, at that time there weren't as many Indian families in America. It was just the very beginning. But those who did come to see him, those few Indian people who came to see him, he became extremely happy to talk with them, always talked with them in Hindi or Bengali, whichever happened to be their language. I remember Gopal Krishna used to come as a young man in Montreal and visit him every day after work. And Prabhupada spent so much time with him because he was trying to revive the culture, the natural Vedic culture of India. And so I'm sure he's extremely happy to see what's happened here in Houston. Who could imagine, who knew that 40 years ago that we would have these beautiful temples? Right, Maharaj? It's when I joined, and I think when Maharaj joined also, we didn't have anything. There weren't even books, there wasn't even a Bhagavad Gita yet. There were the 3 books Prabhupada brought from India, but that was it. And so we couldn't possibly foresee. I mean, I'm still amazed when I come to temples now and I just go, who knew? Who could possibly have known that it was going to develop into such a huge and wonderful organization? However, I truly believe Prabhupada knew, because he used to talk to me sometime in Montreal, and bear in mind, in Montreal it was 1968, we didn't have anything. The Gita hadn't even been printed yet. And he used to tell me how he was going to have a World Sankirtan party, and they would come, he wanted to have a stage where there could be performances of bhajans, and people would come. And years later, when I saw that in Bombay, I couldn't, because there is such a stage in Bombay, at the Bombay Temple, and he wanted that the people would come to Juhu on Sundays rather than come to go to the cinema. I realized he knew well in advance. He had visions of what was going to be. But we were just ignorant children. We just loved him. There was nothing. There was no money, power, position. When we joined, there weren't even any sannyasis. There was just a handful of teenagers who loved Srila Prabhupada and would do anything in the world for him. And somehow or other, by Krishna's arrangement, everything has come so beautifully. His books, his lectures, and his temples. And even if there's some little problems here and there, the overall picture is definitely moving toward what Lord Chaitanya predicted. Srila Prabhupada used to tell me, he used to have a lot of time to talk back in those days. You know, it was a little different. We were like a family. You were there then, right? And we would all sit in the room listening to him talk for hours. Prabhupada loved to speak about Krishna and about Vedic culture. He would talk all night if there was someone to listen. He loved to inspire. That was what he did. And he would tell us about things in India, about how the culture was being lost. And he actually, he worried about this, he fretted over it, and he thought about Russia a lot too. He often thought about Russia. He was very concerned that the Russian communist atheist government not take over the world. So he managed to solve that problem in 2 days. I thought that was pretty good. And Krishna arranged his reception everywhere in the world. And still I find it amazing that things have come so far from what we knew 40 years ago. And that they will even go further, because he used to also say that from the children of your children, pure devotees will be coming out. And when you have one pure devotee, a lot gets done. If you have a bunch of them, I imagine really a lot will get done, because there won't be all the anarthas that my generation was born with, you know, the background that we were raised in and so forth. So I think there's a very bright future for Lord Chaitanya's movement. And this is a glimpse of that future, and I'm really, really happy that Prabhupada's Appearance Day is being worshipped so nicely here. This is a very beautiful, this temple has always been one of the most traditional. And it seems that Krishna is even wearing Prabhupada's favorite color today. Thank you very much. I'll go to